what was the injury, or was it an accumulation of injuries where it got to the point where you had to rely on medication to get you through another match?
Yeah, again, very slow thing. I was probably about your age now, mid-30s. I've always been one of those guys that can't sit still. And so when I'd open my eyes in the morning, I'm about to bed, I'm moving around, getting some coffee and heading to the gym, doing whatever. I noticed that I'd wake up at this time, 99, I am laying in the bed for 15, 20 minutes before I get up. And doing this, then like draping myself off the edge of the bed and just loosening up. And I just didn't have that spark. Like I just felt like I was walking in mud all the time. And so I went to a friend of mine, a pharmacist friend of mine, and I told him, like, something's wrong. Like, I just don't have that get up and go anymore. And he was aware of how many injuries I had in wrestling and stuff. And he said, you need to see this doctor. My wife has fibromyalgia. She's been on the couch for the last 2 years. She's seen this doctor. She's playing golf every day. So I make an appointment with this doctor. And, far from what you see in these like documentaries and stuff today, this was not a pill mill. I didn't walk in and see this doctor and walk out with a script. I was in there for 3-4 hours. This guy, longest I'd ever been in a room with a doctor in my life. He had some kind of chiropractic experience. He was checking my back and checking this and looking at all these lab results. And he turned to me and he said, you have chronic pain syndrome. You're going to be on pain meds the rest of your life. And then he said these words: there's a new drug on the market. It's called OxyContin. It's a miracle drug. And, I'd been prescribed dozens of times over my career, Percocets and oxycodones and things. I'd take them for a day or two and then leave them in my bag in case I got hurt or somebody got hurt later. And 99 times out of 100, because of the moisture in my bag, those pills would turn into like a block of chalk in the bottle, right? Because of the moisture. And they'd throw it out. So when I was prescribed these pills, I naively assumed they were the same thing as Percocets and oxycodones and everything else. I took the first one, the difference being when you take a Percocet or an oxycodone, or there are dozens of the same thing, basically the same ingredients, acetaminophen and the opioid, you get a bit of a euphoric feeling. You feel good. But if you think about it, when you're having that feeling, you're still in pain, but you're just feeling so good you don't think about it. The difference with the OxyContin was when I took that first pill, 10 minutes later, there was no dopey feeling or euphoric feeling, but the pain was completely gone. I was now 100% pain-free. That's different. Like I've never, and at that point, I had been putting off so many things because I didn't feel good. So I went home that day and I washed and waxed my car, my SUV, my ex-wife's car, cut the grass. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm downstairs painting the basement. My ex-wife came down and said, what are you doing? I said, catching up on my chores. It was stuff I've been putting off. I felt good for the first time in 6 months. About 2 months into it, I had them on the counter right over my kitchen sink, and I got up in the morning and I popped it over and I put one in my hand and I went to take it. And I wasn't in any pain, so I put the pill back in the bottle, went about my day. About an hour or two later, I'm in full-blown withdrawal, never having done drugs before that. But somehow my brain knew that it was because I didn't take that pill. And sure enough, when I took the pill and it stopped, I now knew I was screwed. And I went to the computer for hours, looking for how do you get off this shit? Mm. And that started a 5-year odyssey of getting off it. I mean, it was really, really next to impossible, especially trying to be functioning on that, right? So when you go cold turkey on those kind of pills and you're in withdrawal, you're puking, you're pissing out your backside, you're freezing cold, you're burning hot, you can't sleep, you can't wake up, if your skin crawls, it's just every awful physical symptom. And it persists for weeks on end. And so I was having this is when I was sort of semi-retired and was, I would take these 2-3 week chomps of time and go cold turkey and try to get off. They talk about the insanity of it, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I did this for 5 years, right? There was not a time from the time I was hooked on those pills that I became aware of it, that I wasn't trying multiple times per month to get off. So for 5 years, I'm puking and in the bathroom and freezing cold and sleeping and can't wake up and can't go to sleep. I mean, it was just this myriad of things. I was truly insane. I was like a hamster on a wheel, just going and going and going. And at the end, when I finally did get off, it was right after my second son was born. My older son had been oblivious to it. He was 4 or 5 at the time. And I was laying in there trying this same routine again. And I opened my eyes and he was standing at the bedside, and when he would get nervous, he would do this thing with his hands like this, and he was standing there and his hands rubbing together, and he looked at me and he said, Dad, are you sick again? And dude, it was like somebody hit me in the face with a baseball bat. And I decided then it's either going to kill me or I'm done with it. And I went to, we were living in Sarasota at the time, went to Orlando, lied to the manager of the hotel where we put the boys up in TNA, told them I was going to be up there working on my book, and did not, no maid service, no phone calls. If I need something, I'll call down. And I laid there for about a week in a puddle of my own puke and shit. And I knew I was going to die in that room. I had to get up and get moving, or I was going to die in that room. And that was really how I was able to get off it. That wasn't the end of it. It was like 7, 8 more months of just abject misery. You know, your brain constantly telling you, take it, which is why I would never entertain again. When I was at the hospital weeks after, because I thought I'd screwed my insides up. We went through this thing where they wanted to detox me. I told them there was no opioids in me. They finally tested me and saw that I was telling them the truth. So then they're thinking I'm some kind of a basket case, right? Like, this guy wants to get detoxed, but he's already detoxed. And I was worried that I had done something to my insides, because I did not feel well. I felt really sick. And that was like a 35-day stay in the hospital. While I was in the hospital, I'm meeting with the psychiatrist and psychologist, and he's asking me, like, how much were you taking? And I told him I was taking 51 80-milligram OxyContins per day. He said, no, you mean a week? I said, no, 17 in the morning, 17 in the afternoon, 17 in the evening. And he said something like, there's never been a documented dose that high that didn't kill somebody. And I said, I ain't bragging to you. I'm telling you what, I'd get a prescription for 60 pills and it would last me a day. So for whatever reason, it didn't get me. I'm really thankful and appreciative and blessed to be here. I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth twice. Been there, done that. And when I know what my friends are going through, because I've been through that, my heart breaks when I could just give them the assurance, just hang in there. It does get better, but that's, in that moment, doesn't help them very much.
I've heard that. I've heard you tell that story very eloquently once before as well, and it's a very important message to get out there for people who are possibly going through the same thing as you did as well. Right. The ending of the story, I believe, was on like a U shoot with Sean Oliver maybe 10 years ago, something like that. Is that you were working for TNA at the time, and Dixie Carter let you go on television and explain the situation that you were now finally clean, and then she rewarded you by firing you straight afterwards.
Correct. Yeah, it wasn't on TV. For the life, I could see the guy, again, earlier with names. He was the guy that wrote the articles online and print for TNA. And Dixie had come to me and she said, look, he wants to do an interview with you, but this is your private life. You want to keep it separate. And I respected that, but I also, like you just said, that's very important to hear these stories, because rest assured, somebody watching this is going through this. Mm-hmm. And we all know somebody that either died to it or is going through it. The U.S. government is pretty damn complicit in this. But there's a myriad, like, for instance, I don't have a higher power, right? I am agnostic. And so I find it nebulous to try to imagine some higher power. So the traditional 12-step wouldn't work for me. But I went through and adhered to those parts that I thought did apply and would work. And, just immersed myself in it. And that chewing that time up was incredibly important to getting off of it. But when she asked me to do this article, I sat down and we did a 3-4 hour interview. And I had quoted that in there, that, there's somebody else out there going through this right now. And if I can help a single person to try another path and to go down the path that I've been down, I'm all for that. And got great response. I still get occasionally fans coming to the table and saying, hey, and it's been so long now that I what are you talking about? And they, about the pills and this kind of thing. And so it has reached a lot of people. But the reason the thing with Dixie letting me go was was especially cruel was the conversation that Dixie Carter and I had 90% of the time. Very seldom about wrestling. There were those conversations that she didn't understand, obviously. But we'd always talk. She had, I think, a daughter or maybe 2 kids, and I had 2 sons. And we were always talking about each other's kids. And I was, not by her, she had Bob Ryder call me and tell me that like they weren't bringing me in for TV that week. And it was right before Christmas. And so I thought to myself, okay, so you wanted me to come out here and tell this story for your company, to turn this into some kind of a kitsch moment for you. And then you deprive my family of Christmas right after that. And I think, like I told Chris earlier today, if you work with somebody long enough, you'll meet the true them. And I think that day I met the true Dixie Carter. I don't think, and I don't mean this as any kind of backward slap, I don't think it's a surprise that she failed about as miserably as you could fail at being a wrestling promoter, right? With all the money in the world, great outlet with Spike, a damn talented dressing room, and completely devoid of the desire to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. To wrap it up, I'm sure if somebody is going through that kind of thing, just Google help, and there's no better time than start than today. So I think that's
Amen. Yes, sir.
Okay.